Hi, I'm Pete Flint, General Partner NFX, and this is Ask NFX. So Omar Gabe asks, for consumer AI at pre-seed, do you prefer seeing strong engagement and network effects forming or early monetization tests, even if small? Clearly, engagement is important, understanding that level of engagement, but it actually is engagement that compounds, which is way more important. So understanding the cohorts, how that engagement ultimately increases over time, and then how that engagement increases ideally with network effects. So the more people using the product, the engagement increases, is a critical signal of the opportunity to build a really meaningful company. It's not to say that monetization is not important, but it's more about the intent and opportunity longer term to monetize. Do people find this valuable, that there might be a willingness to pay at some point, rather than are you able to extract a certain amount of revenue per customer at that specific moment? So to summarize, engagement is critical. Engagement that compounds is most important, and monetization intent rather than any specific revenue or ARR number at the pre-seed stage. So question from Sebastian Shariati. Does demand now need to be verified before building your product rather than inferred after? And if so, what breaks first in this existing marketplace and D2C models? What this question is asking is really, how does AI transform the process from sort of concept to end customer acquisition of a product, which is actually a fascinating question, for us, whether you're thinking about D2C companies within the question or marketplace models. And I do think there is a potential revolution in many parts of our industry. So, I think the presumption here is that classical advertising, in the case of I'm going to make 1 million laptops and I'm going to sell those, hopefully, and I'm going to use marketing to drive demand, and you guess how much the demand is in the market. That will change radically, in the sense that rather than building the product and then marketing and hoping something will sell, the opportunity with AI is to test early, iterate on the model, forecast your supply chain more effectively based on that demand, and then scale up that demand based on what you're seeing in the specific marketplace. So in this new world with AI, there's an opportunity for people to stop guessing the demand. AI enables people to test ideas very quickly, watch what people are doing on that product service, see real interest in that, and then build with an AI integrated supply chain, or if it's a purely software model, to add incremental features based on what you're seeing in the product and in the marketplace itself. So question from Tommy Persad. For founders whose conviction deepened after early customer exposure rather than to day zero, what signals make you lean in versus worry they're still searching? Clearly, if you have a concept for a product, you're speaking to early customers, whether that's with a prototype or just in the research and design phase, you're getting these signals from customers. And I think what the question is if your conviction is deepening, you're getting interest from that buyer set. Okay, they're saying, okay, this is interesting. The customers are interested in the product you're proposing. The signals are really about, I would say, two things. One is just some consistency of feedback. You're getting 8 out of 10 customers who are kind of identifying, okay, this specific feature is extremely compelling, or this specific use case is exactly what I need this product or service to do. And that consistency is incredibly validating. The opposite is where you're getting, I like this thing, I like this thing, I like this thing. You might think you kind of have, the potential to have a Swiss Army knife, which is really valuable, but in startups where you're very constrained by what you can do, you really want to nail into I want to be excellent at that one specific use case. So you want to be consistency in the feedback, as opposed to variability between the different use cases. So that really is the critical piece, having that consistency. And then the second piece is really how can that compound over time? And that may be that it may form in different ways, whether this early stage conversations, there's a path for you to be a wedge into a bigger opportunity. We've written a lot about wedges in early stage products. Can this be a wedge into a bigger opportunity? Or can there be a opportunity to kind of more meaningfully solve that problem in deeper and more specialized ways? But generally, consistency is critical and necessary when looking for early feedback from design customers. Great question, Tommy. So next question from Deepam Tata. What's the one subtle signal that tells you a founder is going to win before they even finish the pitch? Also, are decks still mandatory? Fascinating question. We get a ton of questions about fundraising, both from companies that we're evaluating to invest in, as well as existing portfolios that raise future follow-on rounds. I think it's super hard to give one subtle signal, but or the one subtle signal, but a subtle signal is that everyone expects founders to look at and detail the opportunity and all the things that are going well and things that, where they're awesome. Where I think the really impressive founders is they understand the constraints. They understand the challenges, and they're able to say, yes, this is a specific challenge. And here are all the ways that we think or believe or know that we can go through and solve that specific challenge. They understand the challenges, and they're able to articulate and detail specifically how they're going to navigate the challenges. And if they don't know how to navigate the challenge, that's okay. But they're highlighting the challenge, and they're going to have some idea or framework about thinking about navigating through that challenge. But ignoring those challenges is definitely a red flag. The question around, are decks mandatory? We definitely like and prefer decks, but not for the reason that we evaluate in their PowerPoint or design skills. The reason is that we require clarity of vision, clarity of execution, clarity of what the company is going to be. And often the best way to do that is in a narrative form through a deck where you have data, you have charts, you have frameworks, you have slides to help to kind of articulate the clarity of that vision. Some founders do it in memos. That's okay, but for VCs that see thousands and thousands of companies a year, a deck is often the most efficient way to consume information. So clarity is the most important piece, and the easiest way to do that from a VC's perspective is through slides. So question from George Alana. Is anyone building novel marketplaces anymore, or has AI flattened everything into the wrapper and product level? Another great question, and something we think a lot about at NFX. I'd say there's two realities. Like, on the one hand, we as a firm and as the VC industry more broadly and startup industry more broadly, there's less investments in new marketplaces over the last couple of years. Because absolutely, as you say, AI has flattened and in some ways solved much of the matching problem. The flip side is that existing marketplaces are more valuable than ever. When you think of Uber, you think of Airbnb, bigger and better than ever and more valuable than ever. And so what's going on here? I think that the observation is that it's easier with AI to match products and services than ever before. Search and ad targeting help to solve this matching problem because they're much more easily and efficiently able to connect supply and demand. And AI is doing similarly. You can type into AI ChatGPT, I'm looking for these products and services, and it'll help to find those products without going to a specific marketplace. That said, the very best marketplaces change economic activity. They go way beyond just matching supply and demand, which the legacy marketplaces were doing. They start to unlock new supply, or they unlock new demand, or they provide additional products and services into that transaction that were previously unavailable or impossible to integrate. And so, yes, we are investing in more. We're still investing in marketplace opportunities. I would say that they probably exist more in the B2B side of things, where it's been harder to aggregate supply and demand, and there's often a bunch of either regulatory or other friction that stop those marketplaces from appearing. And the consumer space, a lot of the very large categories have already been established, well-established marketplaces, whether that's in real estate, whether that's in vacation homes, transport, other areas. They're super well established, amazing network effects, and there's less opportunities for those big categories. And a lot of the long tail of opportunities, they've been captured by efficient matching through chatbots, through search, or through ad recommendations. So marketplaces are not dead in the age of AI, but the bar certainly is significantly higher. So we're doing a bunch of these Ask NFX sessions. So we'd love if you would engage and subscribe. So sign up for email newsletter, nfx.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thanks for watching today.